What's up, people? I am back for another video. We are here to continue with the Mummy movies. We're on Mummy Returns, which came out in 2001. I remember seeing this in theaters. I was 2001. I was 5 years old. Yeah, I was 5 years old. I was thinking in my head, but yeah, I was 5 years old, and I remember it came out like May of 2001 because it wasn't long before Jurassic Park 3 came out. They came out like months apart, and I remember seeing it in the theater and just having an awesome time. And I remember having the this is 2001 is like when DVDs were becoming really popular. So DVDs were becoming a thing. So I remember having it on both films on DVD, and I would watch them back to back because this was before there was no Mummy 3 yet. So the Mummy Returns is a good film. I think, yeah, the CGI is the only real negative. Is it? I'll admit some of the CGI at points, especially the Scorpion King scene. I mean, that's like the most infamous one. But besides that, and my other gripe that I just really thought of it, it's a good point. They don't go into the Scorpion King enough. Like you get his thing in the beginning, and then you get little like, oh, Imhotep wants to fight him to take his powers, but that's it. There's no like they don't go into like what he actually did really. I think he just kind of is just mentioned, but he's never like they don't actually have him do anything. But that's my only minor criticism, and it's a minor because overall I still think it's an awesome movie. It's not as strong as the first, but it's a fun one. Rick and Evie's relation, in my opinion, they have even more chemistry in this film. Alex is one of the few kid characters I don't find annoying. Um, I think, say, like in the first one, they don't. Jonathan is like the humor, and they don't overdo it with him. And Imhotep, this one is much more action oriented too. There's not as much horror stuff like in the first one. Imhotep, they don't try to make him scary. Like he's more trying to get his power, more power. That's more what it's about. And it's cool that they actually made a Nox on the moon. Whatever the woman they picked, who's man, she's beautiful. I think they did a good job at casting her, especially in the end. So before I get started, cheers. So the film kicks off with where we go into a flashback. We have a flashback where The Rock is the Scorpion King. You have Oded Bay, Oded Fair. Sorry, I kind of mixed his names. Oded Fair, Ardeth Bay, doing like another narration opening, talking about how the Scorpion King rose to power, about how he was almost gonna die, kind of sold his soul to the devil, basically. Got his army of Anubis, and then basically how he got defeated, and then that's it. So now we have another time jump. Rick and Evelyn, who are married now, and they have a son, Alex, are in this tomb looking, and they find the bracelet of Anubis, and people and like these thug type dudes come in. They want to steal the bracelet of Anubis from the O'Connells, but then the temple starts falling apart. You get a fun little action sequence in the beginning, and yeah, and this is where Nox on the Moon is now fully resurrected and is looking for Imhotep. And then the same dudes who we saw earlier, turns out, were hired by her and her people to look for the bracelet. And they tell them that the bracelet is in London. They find Imhotep's body, and now we're back in London. The family's kind of coming home, but then Alex opens the bracelet, but it gets on him, and he starts seeing all these visuals. And this is just a fun opening. It's a little bit quiet in the beginning, but I think they do a really good job of making the story interesting. So it turns out Jonathan arrives with like a date, and then he gets kidnapped by I'm trying to find this dude's name because he's with you have a Knox on a Moon and the museum curator guy who works for a Knox on a Moon. And basically the bad guys show up. You have a fun little action sequence. Ardeth shows up. You have Ray Evie ends up getting kidnapped by Ardeth by the bad guys, and they think they have the bracelet. So Rick and Jonathan and Ardeth go to the museum. It turns out they're trying to resurrect Imhotep. Imhotep's resurrected, and they're gonna sacrifice Evie. But Rick saves day. Big shootout. Imhotep wakes up his the mummies you saw from the first one. In the end, he wakes them up. You have a fun little chase scene, and also the little banter between Rick and not Rick, Alex and Jonathan's pretty funny. Like it's in the when they're trying to save their mom. So they end up getting locked out of the car, so they had no choice but to steal a double-decker bus. Fun little chase scene. Rick ends up taking out the mummies, and Alex ends up getting kidnapped by the actor's name is Adewale. He's in a lot of movies. His character's name is Lakna. He's one of the bad guys, but he's in a lot of movies. Like you'll recognize him somewhere. So they kidnap his son. So the next day, Rick has to get help from an old friend named I'm trying to remember his name. Izzy. So Izzy, who's an old friend of Rick, so they have to go try to save their kid. And throughout the film, this is also where Imhotep gets his full form back, and basically this film is almost like a chasing film because you have the O'Connells in this like hot balloon thing, basically chasing, and secretly what Alex does is leave little hints at where his location is, so like the O'Connells can keep following him. But he ends up getting caught, and then like the scene in the first one where Imhotep makes like a sandstorm, he does it this time with water, and I'll admit it did not look as good. I get it. They didn't want to just do the same scene. It's the same scene, but it's with water instead of sand. But it just did not look great visually. But it was a fun sequence. Their king gets taken down, and they basically continue searching. And now they're in this, not like this weird, woods, and this is where we get like these, this is where the pygmy mummies come in, who are, I'll admit, that was a fun little thing. I'll admit it's very Ewok-ish, but it was fine. Ardeth kills Lakna, and Rick ends up saving his son, but he has to be at this temple before the bracelet will kill him. So they make it to the temple. Evie and Jonathan arrive, but this is where Evie gets, quote unquote, she gets stabbed, and it's a fake out death, but it's still, I'll admit, as a kid I was kind of shocked. So Evie gets stabbed, and they get the book, and they enter the pyramid, but they end up taking Imhotep's powers, so he has to face the Scorpion King without his powers, and basically Rick confronts them, and then Alex has an idea, because he's basically going to use the Book of the Dead to bring back his mom. So this is where we get the big battle, kind of big climax fight in the movie. This movie's like 2 hours, but it goes pretty quick. Like, that's the one thing I will say. This film is not boring. It gets going pretty quick. Like, I'm already like close to the end of the film already. Like, but I do think it's a well-made film. I think Rick is still great. His relationship with Evie. Oh, that's another thing I didn't mention. I should have mentioned this. I'm stupid. I really like Evie's like growth in this film, because in the first one, she's a lot more scared and and stuff like that. In this one, like even in the beginning of the film, you see her in this tomb, and like a snake shows up, she just kicks it away like fuck off. And she realizes she's a relative of Nefertiti, so she has like visions and stuff, including one which is one of my favorite fight scenes in the movie, is where she has like a fight where it's Evie but she's playing Nefertiti, and she's having a fight with a Nox on the Moon, like an old school Egyptian fight, and it turns out she was the one who warned the guards about her a Nox on the Moon, about the pharaoh's death. So it's almost all tied together. But her relationship with Rick is still strong in this movie. Like, they build off of each other, and that's what Hollywood used to do. You used to be able to have a strong female character, but you didn't have to like shit on your male character to do it. I don't know what happened. It's like, and that's why they're such an awesome couple, and I think they're just they have. That's why I said they have. I think they have more chemistry in this one. Like you could tell, like they've been married for a while, even though you didn't see it all. You saw that they kissed in the end of the first one, and then they're married now. But you actually can feel like that's when you know it's well written, is when you can feel the history. So the army of Anubis wakes up, and the Magi. You have this big, almost like obviously it's not 300 style because it's pre 300 in like Lord of the Rings. But you have a fun little battle sequence with the Magi versus the army of Anubis. Like I said, the CGI wasn't great, and so Imhotep. While this is happening, Imhotep and Rick are having a cool little fight. The choreography is actually pretty good between the two, and it's good because it's like Imhotep's not a mummy and he doesn't have his powers here. It's like a straight up fist fight. And then the Scorpion King shows up, and this is where we get the really bad CGI, and the Scorpion does the fucking. And I get it. This was The Rock at the height of his career, the know your role, catchphrase throwing, eyebrow raising Rock. This was that Rock at at the height of his popularity. Because if I remember right, he left. I'm stupid. I confused this with Scorpion King because he went to go film Scorpion King because he left WrestleMania after WrestleMania 17. That was the film Scorpion King. So he probably was filming this in like 2000. So this was Rock at the height of his career because Rock in 2000 was so over. So I understand they had to have one scene where they have him do the eyebrow, but it's like, why? It kills the immersion. And I'm like, you're a Scorpion guy. Why are you dropping the eyebrow? It's just, I get it. It was The Rock, and this was wrestling Rock at the height. So Imhotep convinces the Scorpion King that Rick is there to kill him. So Rick and him have a fight, and while this is happening, Jonathan and Alex end up waking up, basically resurrecting Evie, and we have a cool little fight between Evie and a Nox on the Moon with I guess they're like similar to Ninja size. I don't know if they're exactly that, but they're similar. So you have a cool, quick little fight, but then they end up running to the main fight, and it turns out this little scepter that Jonathan's been holding all day is actually a spear that can take down the Scorpion King. And Jonathan tries to throw it to Rick, but ends up getting caught by Imhotep, and then Imhotep tries to throw it, and this is where Rick is running away from the Scorpion King. Imhotep throws it, but then The Rock catches it. Not The Rock. Rick catches it, and then Rick ends up killing the Scorpion King, which topples the pyramid, and the army of Anubis disappear. While this is happening, you have a cool little scene where the Magi seemingly defeat the first wave of the army of Anubis, but then more show up. But then in time, Rick kills the Scorpion King before, and then the army of Anubis disappear. But the pyramid starts falling apart. So both Rick and Imhotep are hanging off this thing, and Evie, even though knowing, and because Rick was trying to tell her, just go. I don't, you have our kid, just go. But she still comes and saves him. And that shows how much she loves her. And it comparatively to the other side where Imhotep asks knocks on the moon to help him, and she instantly turns on him and goes the other way. And then, and this is kind of like poetic in a way, because when you see um, Imhotep look over, he almost is like, that's what true love is, because she helps. He's looking over, and you see Evie and Rick embrace each other, and it's almost like that's true love, and he basically suicides. And but luckily, a Nox on the Moon doesn't get too far. She falls into a pit of scarabs, which I wish we got a bit more of the scarabs. I don't really feel like we got a lot of them in this movie. Um, the O'Connells managed to escape, and yeah, that's the end of the film. I think this is an awesome movie. I think it's a fun one. It's not as strong as the first one, but I really do think it's a fun ride. I do wish they went a bit more into the Scorpion King. You get a quick flashback, and then they talk about like, oh, how much Imhotep is powerful, strong enough to face him, but that's it. You don't really get any like how like his background, and that's probably where the idea for the Scorpion King movie came from. But it's a fun movie. It's still, you still have that strong chemistry between the family. The Rock didn't do a lot in this movie, and this was The Rock's first major movie. He had, he's had guest cameos and stuff in shows, but he at that point, but this was his first real like movie, and that's why he probably wasn't in it a lot, you know. But I think this movie was good. I think the score was good. Imhotep was a good villain, even though he didn't feel like he was the main villain, but he was one of them. The pygmy mummies were cool. I liked the exotic settings they did in this one. It was cool seeing London also. Like, it was just an awesome film. Out of 10, I would give this I gave the first one a 10, so I would give this one like an 8. 8.5, honestly. It's an awesome film. I watch this all the time after the first one. I think they go hand in hand to each other. And the biggest positive, like I said, besides the story, is Rick and Evie's love, like, arc, their whole character arc. I should have mentioned Evie as an example of a strong female character, because she is one. And like, number one, she's a mother first. Same thing, like I mentioned in my other video. But, this is an awesome film, and I would advise you, if you like the Mummy movies, watch this one. You don't really need to watch the third one. You can watch just the first two and honestly be fine. And maybe if you want, watch Scorpion King. But yeah, that's honestly all you really need to watch. But in terms of the main Mummy movies, just watch the first two, and you'll be good. So other than that, it was awesome doing the Mummy movies. We're gonna be doing Scorpion King tomorrow. So I still have 2 more movies to do. But yes, so tomorrow we'll be reviewing Scorpion King as my main review tomorrow. But I'm also going to be talking about Nirvana. But, cheers. But, fuck Warner Brothers. Especially today, because let's race swap another character with Batgirl. Good job. So fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck Lil Bitch and his Space Jam 2. Fuck James Mangold. And fuck OneRing.net. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.